He didn't just break her heart that night. He broke the future he didn't know he already shared with her. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more unforgettable stories like this. Amara had survived difficult days, but nothing prepared her for the moment she stood beside table 7, under bright chandeliers, facing the man who would change her life forever. Gan Yi-hoon. Cold, impeccable, untouchable. He stared at her with a kind of disappointment that cuts deeper than anger. His fiancée, Han Soo-min, clicked her tongue sharply. Honestly, Jiune. Does this place not train their staff? Amara bowed quickly. I'm very sorry. It won't happen again. It already happened, Soo-min snapped. And I don't like mess. Guests murmured. Someone stifled a laugh. Heat rose to Amara's cheeks, but she forced herself to stay steady. Jiune didn't yell. He didn't insult her. He did something worse. Manager, he said quietly, replace her. And just like that, her world collapsed in front of watching eyes and whispered judgment. Minutes later, she walked out of the restaurant with no job. And a wound that humiliation alone couldn't explain. Because beneath her trembling hand, a new life had already begun. A child Jiune never knew existed. A child who would one day bring him to his knees. Amara didn't cry when she lost her job. She cried 2 days later, alone in a bathroom with a pregnancy test trembling in her hand. 2 pink lines. Her breath hitched. Her knees weakened. And the cold tile beneath her suddenly felt like the only thing holding her up. Jihun's child. The same man who humiliated her. The same man who dismissed her like nothing. The same man who looked her in the eyes and saw no value. Her mind spun. She thought of going back, telling him, begging for help. But she remembered Soo-min's sneer. The laughter at table 7. Jihun's quiet, merciless order. Replace her. No. She wouldn't crawl back to anyone who treated her that way. Amara pressed a hand over her stomach, tears streaming silently. I don't know how we're going to do this, she whispered to the tiny life inside her. But I promise you won't suffer because of him. It was the moment she decided. She would raise this child alone, no matter how difficult, no matter how unfair. And far away in his penthouse, under warm lights and luxury she'd never see again, Kang Ji-hoon continued his perfect life, never imagining the consequence growing quietly in a woman he'd already forgotten. Years passed, but the memory of table 7 stayed with Amara like a bruise that never fully healed. Life didn't become easier, but it became meaningful. Her son Jae-min entered the world on a quiet winter morning. Small, warm, and perfect. He had her soft caramel skin, but his father's eyes. Those deep, sharp brown eyes that saw everything. As he grew, so did the questions. Mom, he asked one morning while tying his shoes, why don't I have a dad like the other kids? Amara paused, her chest tightening. She knelt beside him, smoothing his curls gently. Some people choose not to stay, she said softly. But you're not missing anything, Jae-min. You have me. Always. He nodded, but she saw the sadness he tried to hide, because he was kind, thoughtful, and far too mature for his age. Money was tight. Bills stacked up. Amara worked long shifts in different restaurants. Quiet ones without chandeliers or billionaires or memories that hurt. But even on the hardest nights, when exhaustion blurred her vision, her son's laughter pulled her through. He didn't know it, but he saved her. What she didn't know was that across the city, in glass towers and elite social circles, the man whose eyes her son had inherited was preparing for an engagement that would soon shatter every carefully guarded secret. Amara never planned to step back into Ji-hoon's world. She had rebuilt her life far from luxury, far from humiliation, far from the cold eyes that once shattered her. But fate doesn't ask permission. One winter morning, her new job placed her in front of the Kong Group headquarters, a glass tower that seemed to scrape the sky. She tightened her scarf against the wind as she held Jae-min's hand. He was 11 now, sharp-minded and quiet, with a confidence that reminded her painfully of Ji-hoon. Mom, he said, looking up at the towering building, people like us don't come here. You're wrong, she whispered. We go anywhere we need to survive. Inside the lobby, everything glowed with polished marble and cold elegance. Amara walked carefully, hoping to finish her small delivery and disappear unnoticed. But as she turned a corner, she froze. Kang Ji-hoon stood just meters away. Tall, controlled, perfect in his charcoal suit. For a moment her heart forgot how to beat. Then he turned slowly, casually, his gaze sweeping the room until it landed on her. His expression didn't change. No recognition. No flicker of memory. Just nothing. And yet the boy standing beside her, his son, stared at Ji-hoon with a strange unspoken connection. 2 pairs of the same deep brown eyes meeting for the first time. Ji-hoon looked away quickly, moving on with his assistants. To him, she was just another face in the crowd. But to Amara, that single moment was a warning. Their worlds were colliding again. And whether she wanted it or not, the truth was getting closer. Jihoon rarely paused for anything. But something about the boy beside Amara tugged at him long after he walked past. Those eyes. Sharp. Deep. Familiar. He found himself glancing back, just once, only to see the child watching him with a steady, almost challenging stare. It unsettled him more than he expected. Later that afternoon, fate toyed with them again. Amara returned to the Kong group building to finalize delivery paperwork. Her hand shook slightly when she saw Jihoon in the hallway, speaking with executives. She tried to slip past unnoticed. She didn't. He turned. Their eyes met. A faint crease formed between his brows. "Do I know you?" he asked, polite but distant. Amara swallowed. "No, sir. You don't." Before he could question it further, Jimin walked up beside her. Jihoon's gaze flicked to the boy, and something in his face faltered. "Your son?" he asked slowly. Amara hesitated. "Yes." Jihoon studied the child's features, something sharp flickering in his eyes, a crack in his perfect composure. But just as quickly he smothered it. He offered a cold, polite nod. "He resembles someone I know, that's all." Amara felt her chest tighten. He didn't recognize her. He didn't recognize his son. Jaemin, sensing the tension, stepped slightly in front of his mother. Jihoon noticed, and for a moment, guilt brushed his expression, quick, fragile and gone in a heartbeat. "Have a good day," he said, turning away. And as they watched him walk off, Amara realized something terrifying. If Jihoon ever discovered the truth, not just who she was, but who Jaemin truly belonged to, her quiet life would explode again. And this time she wasn't alone. She had someone to protect. The Kong Hotel ballroom glittered with gold lights, orchids, and cameras. It was the perfect stage for a perfect couple, or so the world believed. Tonight was Kong Jihoon's engagement ceremony. Journalists crowded the entrance. Social elites smiled for photos. Sumin glowed in her fitted white dress, gripping Jihoon's arm like she'd already won the world. "Smile, Jihoon," she whispered. "Tonight is ours." But Jihoon wasn't listening. His mind kept circling back to the eyes of that boy in the lobby, the same eyes that haunted him since the moment he saw them. As the ceremony began, Sumin stepped up to the microphone. "Thank you all for." The doors at the back of the ballroom opened. Gasps rippled through the room. Amara stepped inside, nervous but steady, with Jaemin holding her hand. They looked completely out of place among diamonds and silk, but somehow more real than everyone there. Jihoon froze. The music faltered. "Amara?" He breathed, recognizing her at last, not from memory but from the boy beside her. Sumin's smile cracked like thin ice. "Jihoon. Who is she?" Amara swallowed hard. Her voice trembled but she didn't back down. "I didn't come to ruin anything," she said softly. "I came because your son deserved to see the man who threw us away." The room erupted. Cameras flashed. Whispers exploded. Sumin's expression turned murderous. Jihoon stared at the boy. His posture, his eyes, his presence, and something inside him collapsed. "No," he whispered, shaking his head. "That's not possible." But Jaemin stepped forward, chin lifted with quiet courage. "It is," he said. "And you knew it the moment you looked at me." The entire engagement fell apart in a single breath. And Jihoon realized too late. The past he buried had finally come to reclaim him. Silence shattered into chaos. Sumin stormed down from the stage, heels slicing the floor like knives. She stopped inches from Amara, her voice sharp enough to cut skin. "You dare come here? With that child? On my engagement day?" Amara held her ground, but her fingers tightened around Jaemin's hand. Jihoon's mother, Madame Kong, appeared behind Sumin, her expression colder than marble. Her gaze swept over Amara, then the boy. "This is the woman from the restaurant," she said flatly. "The one you fired." The room gasped again. Jihoon looked between Amara and his mother, confusion twisting into anger. "You knew her?" he demanded. Madame Kong didn't flinch. "Of course I did. And I made sure she never returned to embarrass our family again." Amara's breath caught. So it was never just one night. It was deliberate. Sumin folded her arms, venom dripping from every word. "Jihoon, she's clearly after money. Look at her. Do you really believe a child like that belongs to you?" Jaemin's eyes darkened, hurt flashing before he quickly hid it. Jihoon stepped forward, voice low. "Don't talk about him like that." The entire room stilled. Sumin blinked. "Excuse me." "Jihoon is frightened," I said. Don't talk about him like that. It was the first time he had ever raised his voice to her. Madame Kang's lips thinned. This is nonsense. Jihoon, send them away. Amara felt something inside her crack. Not from their cruelty, she was used to that. But from the look in her son's eyes. A look that said, I knew they wouldn't want me. She lifted her chin and spoke clearly, her voice trembling only once. We're not here to ask for anything. Not money. Not help. Not acceptance. She looked at Jihoon, the man who once dictated her fate without even knowing her name. We came so your son could see who you really are. That's all. Then she turned away, gently pulling Jaemin with her. And for the first time in his life, Jihoon reached out. Amara, wait. But she walked out, leaving a ballroom full of shattered reputations behind her, and leaving Jihoon with the truth that his perfect life was built on a lie he never even realized he had told. The ballroom emptied slowly, like the aftermath of a storm no one was prepared for. Jihoon didn't hear the reporters shouting his name. He didn't hear Sumin screaming, or his mother ordering security to fix this disaster immediately. All he heard was the echo of a small voice. And you knew it the moment you looked at me. Jaemin's words clung to him like ice. A child shouldn't speak that bravely. Not unless life had already taught him how to survive without a father. Jihoon stormed out of the ballroom, ignoring Sumin's attempts to grab his arm. Jihoon, don't walk away from me. He didn't stop. Outside, snow drifted softly across the hotel entrance. Amara and Jaemin were already halfway down the steps, their figures small against the white night. Wait! Jihoon called out. Amara froze, but she didn't turn around. He reached them breathlessly, his voice breaking in a way he didn't recognize. Is he really mine? Amara closed her eyes, a weary ache settling across her face. You had 11 years to ask that question, she whispered. You never did. Jaemin stood beside her, shoulders stiff, gaze cold, too cold for a child his age. Jihoon knelt in front of him without thinking. Close, it was undeniable. The same eyes, the same brows, even the same way he clenched his jaw when he was upset. The truth slammed into Jihoon like a lifetime of missed moments. I didn't know, he said softly. If I had. Amara cut him off gently. You did know, Jihoon. You just didn't care enough to look. Snowflakes landed on Jaemin's curls as he stared at Jihoon with unreadable emotion. You're engaged, the boy said quietly. You already have a life. We don't belong in it. Those words shattered something inside Jihoon. Before he could respond, a familiar sharp voice sliced through the air. Jihoon. Sumin stormed toward them, heels sinking into the snow, rage burning in her eyes. You are not speaking to them again, she screamed. This ends now. Jihoon finally stood up, his voice low and dangerous. Sumin, go back inside. She froze. She had never heard him sound like that. Amara took Jaemin's hand. We're leaving, she whispered. This isn't our world. And before Jihoon could find the words to hold them there, to explain, to beg, they walked away. The perfect life he had built. The engagement, the reputation, the flawless image. Everything began to crumble in the cold silence of falling snow. And for the first time in his life, Kang Jihoon realized what regret truly felt like. News travels fast in a city built on gossip. And even faster when it involves a billionaire's engagement collapsing in front of hundreds of witnesses. By morning, every headline screamed, Billionaire Kang Jihoon confronted by secret child at engagement ceremony. Fiancé storms out. Family scandal unfolds. Shareholders panicked. Investors demanded answers. And Jihoon's mother was furious. You ruined everything, Madame Kang hissed, slamming a newspaper onto his desk. How could you let that woman embarrass us again? Jihoon didn't respond. He sat quietly, staring at a photo taken by a reporter. Amara holding Jaemin's hand as they stepped into the snow. His son looked confident, protective, strong. Everything Jihoon wished he had been 11 years earlier. Sumin barged into the office next, eyes swollen with rage. I canceled the engagement announcement, she snapped. But you're fixing this. I refuse to be humiliated any further. Jihoon looked up slowly. For once, stop thinking about yourself. Sumin froze. Madame Kang scoffed. Jihoon, you owe your fiancé an apology. And that woman, Jihoon interrupted sharply, raised a child alone because of our actions. The room went silent. He stood from his desk, shoulders heavy but finally honest. I'm done pretending this family did nothing wrong. Madame Kang's eyes widened in disbelief. You would throw away your future over a woman like her? No, Jihoon said quietly. I'm finally facing the future I abandoned. He walked past them both, ignoring Suman's desperate calls and his mother's icy shout. Outside the building he found Jiune waiting. Alone, hands in his pockets, eyes steady. As Jihoon approached, the boy lifted his chin slightly. You came, Jiune said.
Jihoon nodded. Just tight.
I should have come 11 years ago. There was no forgiveness in the boy's face. But there was strength. Strength he got from his mother.
Jihoon inhaled shakily.
I don't expect you to accept me. But can I try to know you? Even a little. Jiune looked away, snowflakes melting on his lashes. We'll see. And for the first time since the engagement disaster, Jihoon felt something other than shame. Hope. Fragile but real. Jihoon found Amara in the small park behind her apartment complex, sitting on a bench while Jiune practiced passing a ball between piles of snow. For a long moment he didn't speak. He just watched them, the quiet, ordinary life he had never been part of. When Amara finally turned toward him, her expression was calm but firm. What do you want, Jihoon? He took a breath that felt heavier than any business negotiation he'd ever faced. I wanted to apologize, he said softly. Not for the engagement disaster, but for everything before it. For not seeing you. For not seeing him. For being the kind of man who made your life harder. Amara looked down at her gloves, snow settling on her hair like white dust. You can't rewrite the past, she whispered. I know. His voice cracked. But I'd like to write a different future. If you'll let me, even if I start as nothing but a stranger. Jiune approached them slowly, stopping beside his mother with guarded eyes. Jihoon offered him a small, uncertain smile. I don't expect forgiveness, he said quietly. And I don't expect a place in your family. But I'm here. If either of you will let me be. The wind carried their breath in soft clouds. For a moment no one moved. Then Jiune spoke first. You hurt her, he said simply. I don't trust you.
Jihoon nodded, swallowing.
I understand. But, the boy added, glancing at Amara, people can change. If you prove it. A small warm ache spread through Jihoon's chest. A chance, not a promise. Amara finally stood. Her voice was steady. We will live our life, Jihoon. You can choose to be part of it. Or watch from a distance. The choice is yours. But control, titles and pride, those stay out of this. He bowed his head. I'll earn whatever place you allow me. As Jihoon walked away, the weight of his past followed him. But for the first time, the future didn't feel impossible. He had lost his empire, his engagement, and the reputation he prized. But he had found something more human. A son willing to give him a chance. And a woman strong enough to walk forward without him. Amara watched Jiune kick the ball again. Her heart lighter than it had been in years. They had survived. Together. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe for more blockbuster stories like this.